This video is all about groupings of 5. I'm going to show you how to take this pattern into this pattern without changing the sticking at all. Let's figure out how to get from the first pattern to the second one. Okay, so what you're about to see in here is based upon grouping 5 16th notes in bars of 4/4 over a 16th note grid. The first 8 bars are 4 bars repeated, but then after that I start doing 2-bar drum fills followed by 2 bars of groove, 2-bar drum fills followed by 2 bars of groove, and those drum fills are all based on either this pattern or this pattern, orchestrated around the kit in different ways. These are not quintuplets, it's just 5 16th notes. All right, check it out. So again, it's 5-note groupings. Here's the pattern I played in the beginning, and all I was doing was placing the kick drum on every 5th 16th note starting with 1. In order for that kick drum on every 5th 16th note to come around naturally, it would take 5 bars to do it. And I wanted to make this a 4-bar pattern, so in order to accomplish that, I broke out of the pattern on beat 4 of the 4th bar, and I came down on the kick on beat 1 of the next bar. Start out this way. You could place 16th notes in the hi-hat, so your sticking would be right, left, left, or left, right, right. So that would be the very first thing. Get comfortable playing that sticking pattern effortlessly. And, you know, you start slow. Or then the next step would be to be able to, say, keep quarter notes and play this along with that. If I don't break the pattern, it's going to take 5 bars to come back around to 1. So that's what I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Once you're able to do that, the next step would be to then play a simple pattern playing every 5th note on the kick. Once you get comfortable with that, if you're a little more advanced, and that was pretty easy for you, you can then sort of syncopate it a little more. This pattern would be a derivative of what I just did. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can start breaking this up any way you'd like. I'm just trying to keep, 2 and 4 going, right? So the idea is to get to the point where you can hear and feel that accent, which is shifting. With enough practice, that kind of becomes second nature. That sets you up when you start orchestrating these groupings of 5/16 notes around the drums to be able to play them a little easier. At least that's the way it was for me. And the other thing that's super important is to make sure that I'm keeping, whenever possible, the hi-hat playing quarter notes. And that's going to be a coordination thing. But again, not to beat this to death, which I probably am, but every 5th, 16th note, that's really all it is. Now, let's look at doing these patterns over 16th note triplets, because that brings it to another level. Because we're going to do a 16th note triplet grid in 4/4 time. So instead of 4 16th notes per quarter note, it's 6 16th notes, 16 note triplets. So there's going to be 24 notes per bar. I'm going to be doing these at 72 beats per minute, which is kind of slow. But I want them to feel good. That's way more important to me than being able to execute them fast. We're doing 5-note groupings, but the goal is to try and feel them as triplets. So I'm going to play you guys 6 different patterns. I'm going to do groove plus fill, 1 bar, and then 2 bars for 6 different orchestrations around the kit. And there's many more than 6. Anyway, I'm babbling, so here we go. So I've provided, as you saw, transcriptions at the top of the frame, and I realize that that's a lot to ask. I mean, trying to watch what I'm doing and figure it out, and then also looking at the transcription. So I promise that I'm going to provide a link. I have all the transcriptions in one PDF document, so you'll be able to check all of them out, both the 16th note and the 16th note triplet versions, okay? But if you've made it this far, you're about to be rewarded. At least I think so, because this is the coolest part, in my opinion, of the whole thing. I haven't talked about accents at all. If you start playing around with accents without changing the sticking, it completely changes the sound of the groove. So in the beginning, I played you, that example. So I want to take that rhythm, because to me, it's the least musical of the 6. And by that rhythm, I mean this one. I'll play it for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I had to alter it a little bit to make it fit over one bar, because if I were to just play it as a 5-note grouping without altering it, it would take 5 bars to get around to 1 again. So I wanted to make it a 1-bar phrase, so I added a second note on my left hand, which effectively made a double of that last triplet, the last 2 notes of the triplet in the bar. That brings me back around to 1. Okay, and if you look at the transcription, you'll see what I mean. Okay, so now that we have a 1-bar phrase, let's play around with that. So the first thing, I don't like those double hits on the kick drum. If we make them single hits, it'll sound like this. Okay, still weird, but making a few more little changes can make it a lot more, I guess the word would be listenable, right? So we're going to move the snare hit, which is right now on the last note of the first triplet of beat 2. The last note of the first triplet of beat 2. That's where it is right now. It's a right, in our sticking. Without changing the sticking, I'm going to transfer that snare hit to my left hand on the end of 2. So essentially, I'm moving that accent back by 1/16th note in the 16th note triplet grid. And that changes it a lot. Here's what that sounds like. Okay, that's much better, but I don't like the kick drum right after that first snare hit on the end of 2. If I move that back by 1/16th note, it just sort of makes it much more fluid. So check this out. Now that sounds more like kind of a Jeff Beccaro, Rosanna-ish type of groove, right? So if I get rid of the 5-note grouping thing and just play it as a sort of a halftime shuffle, it would sound like this. Okay, so here's the 5-note grouping version of it. Okay, so I'll try and go back and forth between the two, which is a good way to practice this anyway. So referring back to the beginning of this entire video, the 2 patterns that I'm going to play right now use the exact same sticking. this is just one pattern using one different distribution of accents. You could literally come up with, I don't know. I don't even know how many. Using this particular pattern, just moving accents around, you'll come up with a bunch of different variations. And then when you multiply that times the different orchestrations around the drums for this 5-note grouping, I think you can see the possibilities are pretty much endless. So there are many benefits to doing this, even if you never used it in a real-world situation. So anyway, this video was way too long, I know. So I'm going to stop here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like what I'm doing here, please hit the like button, subscribe so I can keep doing this stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.